think it's important that everybody share more. So I'm gonna share my experience with some shit I did a few years ago. In fact, I'm gonna try to nail down the actual date. I'm pretty sure I ordered what I'm about to show you on eBay. Um, these are Headway cells. Um, I don't know if the ones I have were oddball or mislisted because I've only ever seen 4 of them. Other than that, they're not particularly interesting. Um, I want to shout out to my friends at Central Battery. Those dudes, yeah, they good people. In fact, I walked in and stole an old battery case because this is what we're dealing with. So I have a lot of cars. Um, Years ago, I built this jump box, which you can tell it's been out with the spider webs and doing its job. It's fucking crusty, dirty. Um, these were originally. I mean, how does copper rust? I don't understand. But this thing should be charged. There we go. There's no safety here. Um, but these are Headway cells. So I want to talk a little bit about what I did to implement a little bit of safety when using a different battery chemistry. And then I've jumped, I don't know, 100 cars with this. When I first built this, I jumped over 20 cars in a row before discharging, or before recharging. The thing I got sick of is always having a lead acid battery in one of these jump boxes that was never ready to go when you needed it. Like my MO, especially having a fair amount of shitty cars, is like they're going to be dead not while I'm at home, or I'm going to discover, a battery that is tired not while I'm at home, and being able to throw a jump box in the back of the vehicle and forget about it because I'll drive a car for a few days and like I'll well I used to just keep a jump box in the trunk and I'll forget about it. And what with winter and summer and whatever and not being anywhere near the charger, I wanted just a decent system that wouldn't go dead on me. um, Nowadays I know they sell a shit ton of these little tiny jump boxes. um, I have bought one of them and I gave it away to somebody that actually might need it someday. um, my suspicion was always that those little things, at least the ones that I saw, were going to be really really hard on those cells. I think the bigger the better. You want big. Uh, anyway, I'm gonna quit ranting and I'm gonna tear this thing apart. Pull out these cells and we'll take a look. Jesus Christ! Just look at the fucking crust falling off of this thing. I I know I've always had a screw loose, but I think there's actually a few screws missing. Yeah, this is some crusty ass shit. I don't know what manner of beast we're gonna find in here. Obviously some cigarettes. Okay, that actually went a little better than I thought. Um, and of course my vacuum cleaner to vacuum my desk off was dead. Um, so I did actually uh, put some circuitry in here for charging. And that is this little balance board, which you can see is well protected by the Camel cigarette carton. This looks like it came from a carton. Looks like all this duct tape is worn out. It looks like I originally just threw this up in there and said, hey, you won't touch anybody. So let's just toss that crust. Oh, my trash can. Oh, it's a funny story over there by my trash can. So there you go. This I only use this for charging. Because I wanted the full output of, whatever these batteries could do. I wanted them to be able to do when I'm trying to start a car. So whether or not that was a good decision is left to be argued. I didn't want to size something, I mean, peak starting amps or whatever is like fucking hundreds. If memory serves, these cells, I know they're 15 amp hour, which is the oddball. You don't see many 15 amp hour Headways. I think they're a little bigger, and they make the red ones, if I recall, that have more C. If you're nasty, they can output more. But whatever. I I got a good deal for 4 of these on eBay, so I was like, fuck it, let's do it, let her rip. And that is what we did, and it looks like, I mean, so again, there's no limiting on the output, but it looks like, nope, I'm still a dick. I was gonna say, wow, I left myself a connector here so I could remove the ground completely, which let's go ahead and do. I just want to get these. I just want to get these out. Take a look at them. That isn't great. Okay. I mean, these are copper, but they're not. This was pretty shittily done. I did actually write some OpenSCAD to scale containers for these, and why I didn't use it, I don't know. I think I was at Central Battery one day and I was like, hey man, can I have this? And they gave me this old jump box, and whatever, it seemed to work. And I was also interested in selling these, but yours truly just doesn't actually want to make money. What we got going here? So whatever, I guess we can just undo this. Undo that guy. We'll get rid of this crusty board. Not really. God, this, I mean, yeah. So you can tell I just put this together one night. One night, many. There's a fucking stink bug. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then be thankful. Alright. Well, so the board has to stay with the connector. And the board has to stay with the battery. Oh no, here we go. The battery's out. Alright, yeah, let's do this. Boom! Alright, let's ditch this fucking shit. That stuff can be bought. I researched it a little while. Oh, damn it. No, see, no. Let's where my snips? There's gotta be some snips. Right? We're done. We're gonna build a new one. I have a feeling. Yeah, okay, so these are Headway cells. Now, right away, I see some shit that's maybe a little sketchy. This cell looks maybe a little corroded here. And this thing had been underperforming. So that's interesting. Keep in mind, well, let me go find that date. Let me see if eBay goes back far enough to figure out how old this really is. So a bit of sleuthing. eBay only went back to 2016. My email goes back much further. It looks like 11/9/2012 is when I got these. So I've been using them to jump cars for ever since. So I think my plan today is to get to the bottom of what the fuck's going on here and check the health of each of these cells, and then maybe do a load test of the system if it's not shitty. The only way that I can load test is with 100 amps or a direct short. So when I say load test, I mean there's really not a lot of options. But I do have a cheap battery load tester, which I recommend having because you know, they're super helpful, and it's actually what I use to first load test this, because the reality is any battery within reason is, and this probably differs for lithium ion and stuff, but like all that bullshit marketing spew about cold cranking amps, I mean, that doesn't mean shit. Like the reality is batteries, especially nowadays and with the price of lead and all that shit, cold cranking amps doesn't mean shit. What you want are thick plates and a lot of surface area. You're not going to see 600 amps going to a starter. Like you can't carry 600 amps through your starter wire. The cables you're using cannot carry 600 amps. It may for like a micro instance, but who the fuck cares? You know, what you really want is something that, like, I think these were 16 amp hour, which that was the anomaly. I couldn't ever find 16 amp hour headways again, but there were tons of 15 amp hour, and these were sized a little bit larger than the 15 amp hour cells. So I don't know, I got this weird batch. Not saying they're special, just, you know, that was weird. And I saw lots of people building bicycles and shit out of these, and I saw lots of fires, and there was lots of interesting shit going on with Headway cells for a while. And I, like, right now, I don't think you can really find them easily, but it was great. It was like this Lincoln log of connectors that you could just put together, and they came in triangles. And anyway, this has survived the type of abuse that I've put on it for many, many years. I guess we'll call it 5 years. And it was still jumping cars. All right, so let me quit fucking around. And shit, that's the only meter I've got. So real quick, we'll just let's do some voltage. let's just see what state they're in. And then these are lithium phosphate or life batteries, or lithium nanophosphate, or which to me means the safety net is better. The voltages are lower than lithium ion, but these are a little bit more of a forgiving and safe battery. But not every lithium phosphate chemistry is the same. You're not Headway versus A123. They're not going to be identical. Now look at that, 3.2 volts. So resting voltage of lithium iron phosphate is 3.3. You actually charge up to 3.65 on these, and then they should rest and essentially recover, settle down to 3.3. So that is a fully charged battery. That is another fully charged battery, cell, not too far out of balance there. And there's another one, 3.3 and 3.3. So my take on battery management, especially for high powered applications, which I would consider this high powered, I would be perfectly comfortable with anybody using this, but I wouldn't be perfectly comfortable selling this, and there are reasons for that. A lot of times, I think honestly, I only charged this pack maybe 4 times in 5 years. And I'm not saying wow. I'm just saying that my use case meant that, like, when I suspected this thing was low, I gave it a charge. Beyond that, I just used it to jump cars. But I will say that in the last year or two, it felt like it just didn't have the oomph. Whereas the first couple years, these things just would fucking start anything. And my original plan was actually to put a set of super caps in parallel with this, because I felt like, if you want to start bigger trucks or whatever, these can sustain 100 amps no problem, but that is pretty abusive on this battery. And the reality is that when you're jumping a car, yeah, I mean, cold cranking amps matter because you need to initially budge the starter. But once the starter is running and once it's overcome the initial, inertia to start turning a motor, well, then your amps are going to level off quite a bit. So, like, the reality is that for most of my 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder cars, occasionally a 3-cylinder diesel, this was sized right. I knew that I was going to be abusing it. This was more of an experiment. So honestly, so far, this shit seems to be in good balance condition. So what I want to do, I want to take a look at the the shmoo. Whatever the fuck is going on here. Let me see if I can get. Oops, I lost all my shit. No. Let me see if I can get focused in on the shmoo in particular. Yep. Okay, so autofocus did it. And let's just fucking flood this thing with some light here so we can get a look. And what else can I do? Can I make this look any better? I mean, to my eyes, this looks like this appear. I'm looking at a little bit of a different angle. This looks like surface rust on the end, on the outside of the cell. So likely, yeah, you can see a little rust. Ugh, I can't camera. You can see a little rust right there. So I don't think the cell failed. Oh, there's some more surface rust. So I think this cell probably got wet in the shitty container that I had it in. It was pooled a little bit, although this isn't wet at all. The negative was pretty well rusted on the screw cap end, whereas the positive was in really good shape. I don't know if that's an electricity thing, but anyway, I guess this is surface rust. So fuck it, I'm not scared. So what I want to do next is put a load on this and let's see how she chooses. So I gotta run outside and go find my battery load tester and maybe another vacuum. I'll be right back. Wow. It's that feeling you get when you've been ranting for like an hour and you realize that you forgot to hit record. It's almost like that feeling you get when you've been ranting for like an hour and you realize that your mic hasn't been on that whole time. So this will be take 3. And without sparks this time. So that's going to be a bummer for you guys. It wasn't a lot of sparks, but there were sparks. But I'm trying to wrap this up so I can go to bed. And which means this time I'm not going to fucking rant. This is just going to be it. Which you may or may not like. I can recreate the sparks, but man, sparks make me crazy. God damn it. I had trouble getting these to go on. And the very first time I really didn't. So, all right, there's a good connection there. You want a solid connection when you're doing this load testing bullshit. There we go. All right. Can we see? That's going to have to be good enough right there. I also, that makes me nervous. I also went and recovered the fucking thermal and all that bullshit, but we're just going to do a quick load test. Get the camera focus. All right, so here we go. So this is the 3rd time I've done this tonight. If you've ever load tested a lead acid battery, then you'd know that battery sag is like a real thing. Right now there's real heat coming off of this. I'll keep holding the switch and fuck it, I'll turn on the thermal. What do we have to lose here? Yeah, so there's the thermal. We can see the sag. What are we on here? Now we can see the infrared coming up. That was, oh, hey now. Mr. Thermal, there we go. So there we go. There's like 500 degrees. So anyway, you can see these batteries are performing pretty well. And I'm just going to set my coffee top of that guy. And we'll take a look at the batteries themselves. I don't think you can really make out the batteries per se. A lot of reflection there. These cables are very warm to the touch. There we go. 56. I'm gonna say that's pretty accurate. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna say legit. Uh, the batteries are in good shape, and more than likely the reason that this thing felt like it was having less oomph is because I those shitty connectors, the shitty clamps. I think they were just shitty, and wow, this is hot. Oh, that's hot. Um, yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna throw these back in a battery. I can feel a little bit of tiny bit of above room temperature here now. I don't think that'll really get picked up on the thermal because these are so shiny. But uh yeah, these are still kicking, and they were in good shape when we pulled them out. They've not been charged in over a year, that's for sure. Um, and let's see. Then I just ranted a bit about batteries, and I've got some others. This is a Enerdell lithium iron phosphate battery. Uh, if memory serves, it'll do 160 amps continuous or something like that. Um, I've got 24 of these, I think, from a pack that was found and then given to me because uh, my buddies in the battery business didn't want to dismantle or mess with this pack. It was actually pretty dangerous. It had the ability to short all up and down both sides of it because of the way these terminals are. So you had these running in series, and if you hit either side, they would just short the fuck out. Kind of a mess, really. But I've been sitting on these cells. I plan to use them in some robot builds. I might make a jump pack out of these, and I need to come up with some sort of physical connector, which I've not done. Um, but this is why I don't let people in my house right now, because I have shit like this lying around, and like if you were to lay this down the wrong way or lay something metal across it, it would just make sparks. And blah blah blah. So I think, what else did I rant about? I ranted a little bit about me being an idiot, um, trying to reverse engineer this BMS right here. Um, I actually want to use these packs as is. These appear to be, quality cells. The cycle count, depending on how you treat these, when I looked it up, was something ridiculous, uh, like 3,000 cycles at 100% capacity. So this BMS is smart enough to know the state of these batteries. To me, they appear good, but I want to get information out of this BMS as well. And I want to be able to turn this on. I figure out why it's not turning on, because I don't have output on this battery. So that's neat. But so before I end up tearing these apart, these 28650s, I want to give a go at just using it as is, and I may just construct, a giant super bright light. I might just put one of these on each side and make some crazy ass fucking lantern that can run for 10 hours or whatever. I don't know how long it'll run. But yeah, so if any of that shit piques anyone's interest, I'm gonna try to share more stupid shit. I've got some stupid thermal camera tricks too. This weird thermal camera. And I've got all myriad of other equipment and things to fuck with. So whatever. I'll try to share some more next time I have time. Thanks for maybe watching.